Hello, YouTube. I'm here to share about true disciples and false disciples. It's a lot of false teaching out today that's not from the Word of God. It's a lot of false teaching. Religion is not Jesus. Religion is not Jesus Christ. Okay, and if somebody don't agree with the Word of God, then that's cool. We move on. Everybody in this world are not going to agree with the Word of God because they're following something else. So you got to dust the dirt off your shoes and move on. So I'm here to share about true disciples and false disciples. Okay? About false teaching. False teaching that it does not line up with the word of God. Okay? True disciples and false disciples. And here we go. I'm finna share it. Because every Bible out there is not from Jesus. Everything out there is not from Christ. Everything you see out there is not the Bible. Okay? Everything you see out there is not the Bible. So true disciples, true and false disciples. So here we go. It says in Matthew 7:21, true and false disciples. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, 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 will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who's in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and drive out demons in your name, and many miracles? Then I will say, then plainly, away from me, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. These are the false disciples, the false teaching. It's the false teaching that's out there. Not everybody who say, Lord, 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 is with Jesus, because everybody ain't doing God's will. Okay? And it talks about false teachers, false disciples, true disciples, and false disciples. Okay? The true disciples and false disciples. True disciples gonna say what the word of God says. Okay? But the false disciples were true disciples. Okay, the ones that's really following Christ. So you got true disciples and you got false disciples. A disciple is someone that follows Christ. So I'm sharing, I'm sharing God's truth. True disciples. Now this is what I'm finna go to the gospel. Since I'm a follower of Christ, I'm finna share with you the biblical truth about the gospel. True disciples. Okay. It says in Galatians 1, no other, no other gospel. I'm astonished that you are so quickly deserting the one who called you to live in grace and are quickly to turn to a different gospel, which really there's no other gospel at all. Evidently, some people are trying to throw you into confusion and trying to prevent the gospel of Christ. But if we or angels from heaven shall preach another gospel than the one we preach to you, let them be under God's curse. As we've already said, I say again, if anybody is preaching to you a gospel other than the one you accepted, let them be under God's curse. Am I trying to win the approval of human beings? Am I trying to please people? If we were still trying to please people, we would not be servants of Christ. Paul, called by God, I want you to know, brother and sister, the gospel, the gospel I preach is not from humans, human originated. I did not receive it from any human, nor was I taught it. I received it by revelation from Jesus Christ. So the real gospel. So I'm a true disciple of a following Jesus Christ. See, the false, the false disciples, The false people, the false disciples out there, the people that's telling you something else that don't line up with the word of God. It's a lot of fake gospel out there that's not from the word of God. The gospel is not entertainment. God give people gifts and they can use their gift to share their testimony. But the real gospel, the real gospel, the real gospel, the real gospel comes from Jesus. The real gospel. But it's a lot of people in this world have tried to come up with their own gospel, with a phony gospel. No. So it says, but if we or angels from heaven shall preach another gospel than the one we preach to you, let them be under God's curse. I'm saying again, if anybody is preaching to you a gospel other than the one you have accepted, let them be under God's curse. So if somebody is preaching to you another gospel that's not from the word, and it's a lot of phony gospel out there, but the real true gospel comes from Jesus Christ. I'm praying that people in this world would want to follow Jesus. This ain't got nothing to do with me. Pray that they would follow Jesus. I'm this representative. So the real true gospel comes from Jesus Christ. The real gospel. He said, Paul called by God. I want you to know, brother and sister, the gospel I preach is not from humans. I did not receive it from any man, nor was I taught it. I received it by revelation from Jesus Christ. The real true gospel comes from Jesus, the real gospel. So I thank you for tuning in. Bye bye.